Hi there, YouTube. Today's Kingdom Melody has a long history. Originally, it had a jaunty sort of melody, even though there were some fairly risky high notes that most congregations struggled with at the Thursday night meeting, to be honest. It got a complete overhaul in the 2009 songbook with new lyrics, a new structure, and a new melody, which is frankly not as good as the original. The whole thing is a bit silly, actually. In 1966, this was song number 46. In 1984, it was song number 105. In 2009, it became song number 109, and it received a complete melody and lyric change. In 2017, it was song number 15, and the title changed from Hail Jehovah's Firstborn to Praise Jehovah's Firstborn. Good boy. The song has changed so much that we're actually going to have to go through the older version first, and then we'll take a look at the new one.
Let's hail Jehovah's firstborn.
Hail is precipitation in the form of small balls or lumps of ice that fall from the sky, often causing property damage. Are we pelting Jesus with ice? What the fuck, guys? That's not very nice. Oh, no. To hail is to pour down or strike like hail. Still not a real good look, y'all. No, wait. Okay, there's another verb definition here. To greet with enthusiastic approval.
Hell yeah!
So, we are really happy to see him. I'd actually be really surprised to see him. And another thing, if we have to specify a firstborn, then does that mean there's a secondborn and a thirdborn and so on? Who are the other kids? Why haven't we heard about them?
God's heir he has been made, who since he was created, his Father's voice obeyed.
Heir is someone who stands to inherit property from an ancestor, or who is in line for a hereditary rank, title, or office. But it's important to note that an heir cannot actually succeed to a throne or a position while the throne is still occupied. An heir doesn't inherit property or anything until the ancestor actually dies. So if God is eternal and immortal and all of that, then why does he need an heir? And what does it really mean to be an heir? Not a whole lot, it seems like. Nice to know that he's so obedient, though. I mean, we wouldn't want a future ruler who could think for himself or anything. I mean, if any of this were true, which it isn't.
He made all things existing in heaven and on earth.
Jesus made all things, and he was obedient since the time of his own creation by who? Jehovah? Okay, so Jesus created us, and Jehovah created him, and who created Jehovah? Us. Wait,
And he, as God's own spokesman, made known Jehovah's worth.
Why exactly would this be necessary? I mean, why would the Almighty Creator of the universe need a spokesman? It seems to me that a direct communication from the big kahuna himself would be much more efficient and effective than a spokesman. And why would anyone doubt his worth? I mean, why would someone need to explain to people why their sky daddy and eternal boss man was important? It seems like that would be kind of obvious if any of these godlike creatures existed, but
Although he was in God's form, he did not selfishly endeavor to be equal to God in rivalry.
whoa, horse. This is weird. In 1966, this first line was, though in God's form existing, which is ass backwards and laden with unnecessary punctuation. It also ain't real clear. Bless their hearts. They tried to make it better in 1984, but they kept the unnecessary apostrophe, and they didn't really clear up the actual question, which is, the fuck are they talking about? Jehovah's Witnesses very loudly proclaim that they do not believe in the Trinity or the divinity of Jesus. They think that Jesus is a lesser being created by Jehovah. So what does it mean when they say he was in God's form? Was he actually like inside of God, but not like the same person? Wow, that's a bit much. I don't really want to think about how that might work. Just no.
Come on, Sister Pister, it means he was a spirit.
Well, if that's what they meant to say, then why didn't they just say that? They could have. Although he was in spirit form. See, it would have worked. Let's move on to the even more interesting thing in this line. Remember that Jesus is a lesser being, according to the Jehovah's Witnesses. Not a God, not divine, just God's servant, his obedient and not very bright heir, who apparently hasn't figured out that he's never going to inherit anything from his father because dude is never going to kick the bucket. Jesus is just a spokesperson, a mascot, so how the heck could he hope to be equal to God? Why would he be a rival? I mean, it doesn't even seem possible, so why even mention it? It just raises other questions like, how was Lucifer/Satan able to become a rival to God? And if a lesser creation, be it an angel or whatever, can actually rival God, then is he really all he's cracked up to be? I mean, if he's omnipotent, then nothing else would be strong enough to rival him, right? And if he's all-knowing, then why would he create beings that he knew would rival him? He'd have to know, because if he didn't, then he wouldn't be all-knowing, would he?
But humbly he descended and took the form of man to vindicate Jehovah and give men life again.
So Jesus agreed to come down to earth and live as a man for a while. You know who else supposedly did that? Do you remember the story of where Jehovah's Witnesses say demons came from? According to witness doctrine, demons are just angels who got the hots for human women and came down to earth so they could get it on. That doesn't seem all that humble to me. Seems reasonable, though, since supposedly there's no sex in heaven, according to the witnesses. Why would we want to go again?
All right, Dad. If you insist, I'll go down there and hang out in a human body for a while.
Yeah, I know. Most Christians think Jesus never had sex. But honestly, his best girl and constant companion was a harlot. Do you really think they social distance? Anyway, to vindicate is to free something or someone from allegation or blame. To defend or provide justification for something. Now, can anyone explain to me why Jehovah would need to be vindicated? I mean, what did he do that he didn't want to be blamed for? What allegations was he facing? What court could possibly charge him with anything? I got so many questions. Like, why can't the Almighty take care of himself if he's so almighty? As for giving men life again, well, why do men need to be given life again? Did he kill them all or something? What's the connection between vindication and whether or not men are alive? I don't see a connection there.
For this Christ was exalted and set by God on high to be Jehovah's agent, his name to sanctify.
Pop quiz, y'all. What do you call something that is put up in a high position but doesn't really have any power? A figurehead. So here they are saying that Christ here is a great mascot and spokesman. He appears in all the commercials and apparently books all of Jehovah's public appearances.
He don't make any public appearances.
Well, then I guess Jesus isn't a very good agent, is he? To sanctify is to set apart for a sacred purpose to religious use or to free from sin. Can anybody tell me why God's name needs to be freed from sin? I mean, isn't God sin-free by definition? I just don't understand this. And notice that they're not sanctifying him directly, but instead they're sanctifying the name itself. Is the actual word Jehovah somehow sentient and capable of committing sins all on its own?
He will at Armageddon God's worshippers defend, destroy foes of God's kingdom, bring peace that will not end.
Armageddon is the most hyped and anticipated event in Jehovah's Witness history. They cannot wait until Jehovah blasts everyone but them to death with fireballs and falling boulders and shit and lets birds eat their bodies. Jesus is supposedly going to defend them and protect them while destroying foes of God's kingdom, which would be whom exactly? That's anybody. Literally anybody who does not buy into the Jehovah's Witness doctrine. Culty much? But I guess the wholesale slaughter of 99.9% of the world's population would bring pretty much endless peace. There's not a lot of noise if everyone's dead, after all. Not a lot of fun, but peaceful if you want to be literal.
So hail Jehovah's firstborn.
I don't much feel like hailing this guy. I don't think this plan's been thought through very well.
Make known his kingdom reign.
Is it raining, y'all?
That's like a lot of rain.
From house to house keep preaching, the cause of truth maintain.
At last, even the Jehovah's Witnesses have stopped going house to house. So there is at least one good thing about the coronavirus pandemic. As for maintaining the cause of truth, well, that's what we're doing right here. In this video, you know they call their religion the truth, but this line actually says the cause of truth, not the cause of the truth. You might say that's an overly subtle distinction, and to a Jehovah's Witness it might be, but I think the truth is important, and the truth is the Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult, now more than ever. This next and final line always cracks me up, mainly because of the use of the word stimulate in a song lyric.
With personal attention, show others what to do, and stimulate our brothers to hail God's firstborn too.
What kind of personal attention are they talking about here? I mean, I think they were trying to be all loving and caring and love bomby, but it just comes off as kind of creepy. Especially when you're told to stimulate your brothers. Weren't we told that we weren't even supposed to stimulate ourselves? I'm pretty sure they use the word stimulate repeatedly in every article and talk about masturbation. But here we are, forced to sing about stimulating our brothers. Ew. Let's take a look at the new version of the song, which came out in 2009. First off, the musical arrangement, just weird. You've got a militant snare drum and a triangle pinging away at random. And speaking of random, what is with this bizarro melody? That would be nice and all, but I haven't really seen anything to lead me to believe that he or Jehovah exists at all, much less that they give a crap about truth or justice. They don't even bring pedophiles to justice within their own kingdom halls, and they routinely slander and lie about people who leave and dare to complain about how they were treated. They regularly expel people from their congregations for minor offenses, causing them to be ostracized by everybody they know, often unjustly and with no evidence or opportunity to defend themselves. I don't really think I'm buying what this song is selling. Also, they changed the word hail to praise in the 2017 songbook. I guess they got tired of being pelted with little balls of ice or something. As for rich blessings, notice that they don't say who is receiving these blessings. Odds are, it's not the average Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses are some of the least educated and therefore poorest people anywhere. So, you do the math. Been to a kingdom hall? Dignity and splendor is pretty much the opposite of what you'll find there. And why do we love God's name so much and not, God? And once again, why does the Almighty need to be vindicated? Why would he need anyone to go around shouting about how great he is? But at least they managed to cram in some more apostrophes. The word hail was replaced with praise in 2017. All right, if you insist. Good boy! Good boy! Installed upon Mount Zion, his kingship has now begun. Installed? What is he, a dishwasher or a swimming pool? Did they have to set up separate appointments with the contractors to have him installed up there? And what happens to his kingship if he trips a breaker or the water line backs up or something installed? I need to get a Jesus installed over here. So I know the story of the redemptive sacrifice and all that, but what I don't know is why it was necessary. I mean, humans were already living, so how did this sacrifice actually change anything? I mean, people are still born the same way, and they still pretty much die the same way they always have. And if you do believe in this story, then, I mean, God's the one who created everything, and he's supposedly perfect, and he doesn't make mistakes, right? He is supposedly all-knowing, so he should have known how all this would turn out, right? He could have just not made people in the first place if he knew they would piss him off or something. Or he could have chosen to be merciful and not kill them all for their behavior, which he knew in advance would happen. Unless he's not all-knowing and omnipotent, he made the creatures who supposedly went bad, and he made sin too. So whose fault is it really? Why does someone else who wasn't even involved, other than as a mascot or a spokesperson, have to be tortured and killed over it? And then Jesus supposedly came back after 3 days, so what was the point? But why was the ransom needed in the first place? Who was holding everyone hostage? I don't know. And the payment had to be made to God so that he could forgive his children for the way he created them, which was not their fault. They had no control over that. And God needed someone to save us all from himself. This does not make sense. Why do y'all worship this psychopath? Why does he require blood and guts and torture to be able to forgive his own children for something that wasn't even their fault? They changed the subject so fast that I have whiplash now. Who is this bride? What is she waiting for? Well, in Christianity, the bride of Christ is actually the church. Or, as the Jehovah's Witnesses like to say, the organization. Think about that for a minute. I mean, think about these guys as the bride of Christ, adorned for him in white. Ew. You know, I thought they were totally against gay marriage. This doesn't make any sense. Like not at all. None. So if Jesus and the organization or the church or whatever you believe, depending on your religion of choice, if they're getting married in the sky, how does that prove anything at all? Much less that God's rule is right. I mean, if God is the almighty creator of the universe, how could his rule be wrong? Why would he need to prove that his rule is right if he made everything and he has ultimate power and knowledge and all that? I mean, who's he trying to prove it to? Now, obviously, he doesn't care what we think, does he? I, for one, think it's kind of gross that he wants Jesus to have a carnal relationship with the organization. There are plenty of ways they could have indicated a tight relationship without invoking marriage. Because, let's be honest, why do Jehovah's Witnesses get married? So they can have sex without getting disfellowshipped. What does everyone think about when they think about a bride and bridegroom getting hitched? The wedding night. Again, ew.